Greetings, vac fans, especially those people who need to polish aluminum on their vacuum cleaners. So on the left, I have the vacuum that started it all for me, a 1988 Kirby Heritage 2 Legend, and no, when I got it, it didn't look anything like that at all. It looked much more like the two on the right. And I've got several different items I want to go through to see how well I can get these two machines, a Sentria 1 and a dual Sanitronic 80, to maybe look as good as that. So first thing actually I want to do is I'm going to use some steel wool. And I got two different flavors here. I have kind of a coarse, which is a 0 here on the right, and then I have a fine, which is a quad aught, or 0000 on the left. And we'll do like a scraping to these two first, because if you look closely, yeah, there's a lot of growth on there. Absolutely a lot of growth. How about that? So a lot to work on. And then we can take a look at something that's kind of common. Mother's Mag and aluminum polish. Really inexpensive, and it does a pretty good job. Doesn't do as well as other methods, but it's a place to start. If we have some, shall we say, liver spots or other things that simply just won't come off with the steel wool, we can start with sandpaper, and that's just a couple of grades. Obviously 2000 grit is really, really fine. 400 is fairly fine, and then of course you can go all the way down to 100, which I've had to use on this guy many years ago because the gouges in there were just unbelievable. And this has been, over the years, a real workhorse for me. So I found this little polishing kit that's meant for a drill. And I don't have anything fancy for a drill, just like a standard Sears Craftsman drill you plug into the wall, a little 600-watt job that turns, I think it's like 1500 RPM. It's not very fast. And this isn't exactly very big. I think it's maybe 3.5 inches or so for a buffing wheel. Better than nothing, better than doing it by hand. And it has made this Heritage 2 look like this, although I haven't buffed it in a few years, but it's still not really that bad. Now, I bet you maybe 7-8 months ago I picked up this little gem. It's got to be at least probably 30 years old. Who knows? I can't really date it offhand, but it's a combination grinder polisher, and it's not really designed as a dedicated buffer, but as you can see on this side, does have an unused 4-inch buffing wheel. So I figured for, let's see, $14.99 used at a Goodwill, I would try this little dude out. And I think it's rated for, let's see, where is that? 3,600 RPM. So it's a lot faster than my drill. So I'm going to give this a try, because now I've got a whole bunch of Kirbys. I would like to go and actually buff them all the way out with a high-speed buffer. Better than hooking something up to a drill. Although this kit right here kind of has everything with it, and the polishing sticks are on the other side of this. It's like a $22 kit. Great starter kit. All kinds of little pieces. If you got yourself a drill, that's fantastic. If really all you have is just say, well, your hands, maybe a paper towel or maybe a microfiber or something. Get yourself some steel wool. The pads do not scratch. Really cool thing. And get yourself maybe some mothers and go with that and let it rip. Of course, the best thing would be a really huge buffing wheel, like say maybe I don't know, maybe an inch thick or an 1.5 inch thick, 12-inch diameter, but that would cost a significant amount of money. Anyway, I want to start out with the Sentria 1 and the dual Sanitronic 80, and we'll go through each individual method and we'll see like before and after. So stay tuned and let's get started. Well, you've seen me clean these spindles before, but I wonder, what are they like in slow motion? Got some 400 grit and some 2000 grit. Low speed. Well, quite an improvement. And it also shows me that looks like I've got some real deep scratches in there. Might have to use something something a little stronger than 400 grit. So 400 grit is a little too fine. Much as I hate to do it, got some 100 grit right here, very rough. I got some 220. So I want to see if I can get that rust off right in there, and that's kind of a gouge. I want to be careful with this, although I have another one of these, so it's not really a big deal if I mess it up. So I just want to see how this looks in slow-mo. 100 grit first. Still there. It's getting better. It's not as bad as it was. All right, I'm gonna keep going. Alright, that's good enough. Doesn't have to be perfect. Not really that important anyway. That's not where the belt rides. Okay, so I'm going to put some of this 220 right here. Alright, that's looking better. Yeah, there's still some rust right in there, but it's pretty smooth. Alright, let's finish this up with some 400. We'll go back to 400 and then we'll do 2000. Call it quits. Alright, last 2000 to make it smooth as a baby's bottom. Alright, that'll do it. Looks pretty new, except for that rusty spot right there. And now for the Sentria 1. did 200, 400, and 2,000 all in one shot. You know, one of the things I appreciate about when you get one of these newer Kirbys is if you get one that has a belt lifter like this, you can get it completely off. I think this is that's a T20, and you can really shine up the nozzle. So this one hasn't been touched in years. Look at that. But you can get to it. The other ones are a bit more difficult. So you got this little top ring here. Have this little wonky one right here that provides some kind of spring pressure. And then underneath it, you've got a little piece of plastic that everything can ride on back and forth. So let's see what I can do with this. So if you look closely, you'll see there's definitely some scratches in there, unfortunately. That's really too bad. So I'll have to make a decision just how much sandpaper I'm going to want to put on this, because that's not going to polish out. Awful lot of corrosion. Here's the inside. You know, the inside doesn't look as bad as I thought. I've seen a lot worse than that. Here's the rear. You can see obviously some buildup. So let's get to work, and I'm going to use the 0 first. Spots on this thing. Of course, the bumper covers this up. But I still like to get that off. You know what? I probably should take the light out. That'd be a good thing. I have to polish that anyway. So, got a screw back here, which is regular Phillips. Oh, look at that rust. Ugh. You know what? There. Clean that up a little bit. There. And there's the light, little rubber seal. You know, something that's always amazed me, these little locking levers, yeah, almost totally completely frozen. Now, I've worked a little magic on that, but this literally I'll soak in like WD-40 and then maybe grease it with something. But I mean, this is really tough to move. And super tough to move. That's something I gotta work on too. If I can scrape some of this buildup off here. Date wheel on this says 08 right there. Now what's nice is, even though that still looks like it's kind of stained, and it is, it's smooth and it's not scratched in any way, shape, or form. So this removes stuff without killing it. And this is the Quad Aught. It's like we're going to have a lot of spots to get off of this thing. This is positively a wreck right here. That label was just dusty. Alright, I hope you can see it coming a little bit cleaner, but this is going to take some real work. You can see what I have right here? That's the steel wool. It's coming off. Pull this up. It's smooth, all right. Now let's get some of that buildup on the inside. Much better. Build up on this side down here. Oh, look at that. See, look at the buildup around the BPI. Gotta get that off. See where the brush roller sits? You've got these two little markers right here. Same thing on the other side. They get buildup on them too. And sometimes it's hard to get the brush roll back in. Well, that's better. Okay, magnetic screwdriver. see where are we at now. And I really hope all this has been in focus, because I can't look at that at the same time that I'm scraping. All right, so that is so much better already. The nice thing is it's smooth. This is actually very, very smooth. Even though it's very spotted, it's definitely smooth. Let me see if I can get a little more inside here. I know, it's like, why do you clean the inside of a nozzle? Isn't that pointless? It's just going to get dusty. Well, hopefully if it just gets dusty, I'll be good with just that, just with the dust. But I'll get all the big chunks out, and hopefully it'll stay out. See a little bit of white buildup in there. It's not too bad. Alright, so that is probably about as good as it'll be. Now I'm going to switch over. This was the just 0, so it's kind of rough. I'm going to switch over to the finer stuff. And this stuff is really, really soft. Super soft. That probably is going to do it for the steel wool for the Sentria 1 head. And I've got, jeez, this guy's, what a wreck. Look at the buildup on this thing. I mean, jeez. This machine was used for a while and then stored for, I don't know, 5 years or something like that. It was a long time. And still, look at that. It build up. This is kind of common, and you could get this part. That's a nice thing. If you want to go ahead and restore your G series, you can get these parts. All right, let me get back to there. I've got a Dremel and other things like that I'm going to probably drag out for this, but this is what I have in my hand right now, so that's what I'm going to use right this very second. But this is going to need something heavier than that. Steel wool doesn't perform miracles. There we go. So I can get some of the big chunks off. So better than when we started. That's going to need some help. All right, now let's move on to dual Sanitronic 80. This is a pain to get off. You can get that off, but I'll show you why. I can't bother with that right this second because I got some rusted screws in there, and I'm not going to take the time right this very second to see if I can bust those off. I might be able to. I've had some success in the past, but it's going to be kind of hit and miss. So let's go ahead and give this guy the steel wool treatment as best we can. Okay, let's do the rough one first. See what that looks like. I can feel the layers of crud coming right off. Again, without scratching. Still going to have spots, to be sure. There's just kind of no way to get around that. Yeah, see, this has now gone totally smooth. Super smooth. Not bad. I'm not going to worry a whole lot about what's right here because the bumper covers most of that up. So I'm probably not going to shine it, but I am going to scrub that off. You can see how that came right off. That works. Let's see what's going on the other side. You see, you got a little buildup on the other side here. Nice and smooth. All right, so there's the inside. The inside isn't that bad, but I'll hit it a little bit anyway. But the buildup in here just is pretty insignificant. Got a little bit right in here. Yeah, this just isn't that bad. This nozzle just isn't horrible. Doesn't appear to be anything growing in it. I wonder. Is that? What is that? I guess I'll probably leave that. I don't think that's something that I'll really ever see one way or the other. I don't think there's a whole lot of buildup down here. No, not really. Okay, so we're in good shape on the inside. Funny, somebody wrote 10 on it. I don't have any idea what 10 means. Machine number 10? The 10th rebuild? Who knows? I see rust, if I can, I really like to try to get that off. And steel wool does a nice job of getting rust off of things if you can get to it. I got these little rivets, one here and then one down there. There, look at that. Let's see, it was rusty. Not anymore. These little crimps on the end. Get them shined up just a little bit. See, it's a lot of detail work. It takes a lot of time. People ask me, do you sell your machines? And I'm like, well, no and not yet. Mainly because most of them I have way too much labor into. It's a little better on one side at least. You know, and the hopes is if you go through all this effort, you just have to do it once. And then you keep it looking nice rather than letting it go downhill. All right, so that's not too bad on that little corner. All right, time for some quad arc. Do some fine polishing. Now, if you remember, on my other DS80, the one that said lost cause, you saw the difference before and after, and it was huge, but the other one started out in much worse shape. Somebody said, I think, it spent some time at the bottom of the ocean. I think I'd agree with them because it was so bad. I think it was in somebody's flooded basement, and then they just put it in a garage or something like that and just let it rot and build up all kinds of crud growing on it. Lots and lots of oxidation. And what I can do, this rug plate is very smooth, but I can make it smoother. And that, I'll use a little steel wool, but you know what? This I do recommend that you use sandpaper on. So this isn't in too bad a shape. But if this is supposed to be smooth, and this is, if you make it smooth like glass, it'll glide across your bare floors and your carpets a little better. So that's something that I can actually sand, and I'm going to get out some sandpaper. Probably going to do 400 grit, because this one isn't too bad. Yeah, this isn't too bad. You're always going to see some scratches, but I think some 400 grit will probably work well. See, I thought I was done with my sandpaper, but no. Need a little piece here. Oh yeah, yeah. That's taking the small amount of bumps and stuff like that out of it, making it definitely smoother. Now it might dull the rug plate a little bit, and you can shine that back up if you really want a shiny rug plate, if that's your thing. But I'd rather have a rug plate, frankly, that is smooth and doesn't have little pieces of metal popping out all over the place that can grab carpet fibers or bare floor, scratch bare floor. So You know what? I better get the front of that too. That's a little rough. Yeah, you can run your hand across it. It doesn't cut you. You're in good shape. Okay, so I might have dulled it a little bit. This is 400 grit. I can shine that back up if I want to. But it's smooth now. Yeah, this is all smooth now, and that's really what you want. Especially if you have carpet or delicate carpet. Yep, okay, so I think that's going to be about as good as we're going to get. I can always hit it again. So you see scratches on it, but I'm not feeling anything anymore. There's a little rough spot right there. Okay, that's in good shape now. I don't think that looks too dull. I don't think I dulled it too badly. You can repolish that if you want to. All right, so I think that's in good shape. That's probably about all I can do. You know what? I gotta hit this right here. The actual belt lifter itself. But I want to do it, I don't want to use it on the plastic. I'll do something else for the plastic, but I don't want to do the steel wool on the plastic. Like I mentioned before, I know this plastic piece comes off, but I'm a little afraid of cracking it, so I don't want to chance it. I would normally like to take that off and get the plastic completely cleaned and buffed, but I don't want to risk it for a machine of this age. Not right this second, maybe later on, but I know you can get that off. All right, so that's the 0, and here's the super fine stuff. You could probably, this is so fine with the quad aught, you probably could do plastic with it. I mean, it is just unbelievably smooth. Very, very soft. All right, so I think stage 1 is just about complete. And yes, I know I can take this completely off, but these are tabs right here, and I don't want to bend them completely up and then back down again just to do this. So I'm working around it. I really had to. I know how to take that off if I really wanted to. I've already cleaned the rubber strip in the tub, but it certainly needs a polish. Whether you have some rubber revitalizer, or I'll use, what is that, Armor All, something like that. All right, so this is more or less like, say, stage 1. This is steel wool. There, maybe look better right side up. Otherwise it says Ibrick instead of Kirby. There you go. Now that's just steel wool. So it's got plenty of spots, but it's really smooth now. It's still going to have deep scratches. Steel wool will not get out the deep scratches. this is now very smooth. So there's that whole thing. All right, so that stage is done. Let's move on. Let's try some Mother's Mag and aluminum polish. Now this stuff is pretty cheap. When I say cheap, I mean you get, what is it? It's like 5 ounces or something, and I think it's like $6 or so plus tax, and it's available at wide variety of retailers, say Walmart and you name it. I think that's probably the cheapest of where I've ever found it. So I don't believe that stuff like this, spots like this, even though this is really smooth, I mean, that is super smooth. I don't think that this is going to get this out, but it might polish this up a little bit. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, we want to try it anyway. Okay, so some of this of what I'm doing here isn't necessarily like in the correct order, or maybe even the way you would do it, but I'm going to try a whole bunch of different things. Some people would probably go right to some kind of sanding or buffing, but imagine that you didn't have a buffer, sander, or anything of that nature, and this is just what you had to work with. What would you do? And this is very inexpensive. So I've got some real soft, I think it's Bounty paper towels. So I'm going to take a bunch of this, and I like to put it on rather liberally. And I like to use some force. So I think what I'll do is I'll do one side. I'll see what's going on. See? Turning black. So the oxidation is coming off to some degree. And this may indeed show that this is a hopeless case as far as getting off those terrible spots that appear to definitely be below the aluminum surface. And the sad thing is, that's probably what we're going to find out. But I'm always ready for a surprise, to be sure. I'll try to keep the cameras focused as best as possible, but both hands are busy right now. Okay, so I have one side done. Now take a clean one, or if you're really hurting for money, just use the other side of this. All right, let's see. I'm going to see any magic, or is it going to look just as bad? Now I see some people using microfibers, but the only thing is, every time I've tried to do that, the microfibers end up getting destroyed. And I know you can wash them, but this just kills microfibers. So you see, I put this on very, very thick. See how long it's taking to actually get that off of there? So I did that on purpose to show you what that is. I don't really have a problem with it because it keeps me polishing and polishing, and I can keep rotating this around. I don't think you're normally supposed to put it on that thick. And now you can kind of see why. It doesn't hurt anything. It just takes longer to buff it off, which isn't necessarily always a bad thing. So anybody that's going to take the time to do this, especially by hand, probably going to just enjoy doing this anyway, and they're not going to be in a giant hurry, I would suppose. All right, so let's just take a look and see how we're going now. And how are we doing? There we go. So it certainly is fairly shiny. It's a little on the cloudy side, but see, those spots are still there. And yeah, I think we're probably going to have to use a lot more force, not with Mother's, with something else. I'll go ahead and buff the rest of this off, just so you can see what this can and can't do. Now, I got a Sentria 2 a few years back, and it was in moderately decent shape from a metal standpoint, and just some mothers and some polishing, I was in pretty good shape. It was not nearly as damaged as this. And I did not have to bring my drill out. So it's definitely gotten a little cleaner, I think. But yeah, see those spots? Still there. See the deep scratches? Yep. That's not going to come out. That's just not. So let me grab my 80 nozzle and see what that does. Spot there. Let's take off on the label. All right, so you saw what just doing mothers does on something that needs a lot more than mothers. So it helps, kinda, but you're gonna need a lot more than that. I mean, it's clean and it's smooth, but that still looks pretty terrible. And of course, the scratches don't come out here either. All right, let's put that one away. Let's see what we got with this 80 nozzle here. Very smooth, but look at all those spots. Not real good. All right, so we're going to do the same thing. See what happens. All right, we'll go and put entirely too much on. Right now I have 10 people going, no, you're doing it wrong. And that doesn't really help. Wanted to get in there a little bit more. I'll do this one side just to kind of save time. I have seen this. The longer that you kind of rub this mothers in, the more oxidation you get off. So if you don't have a bunch of, shall we say, liver spots, erosion spots, or heavy scratches, mothers will do a great job just kind of cleaning up the surface. It really will. But if you really need to get awful stuff scraped or sanded off of your aluminum, this is not going to do that. So I think we get the idea. Let's get our clean towel and buff that off. Completely clean side. Incredible exercise for your hands, I'll give you that. Wonder if I should put some music behind this so you just don't hear me blabbing and my air conditioner running. Well, I think we got a little bit of the oxidation off. It certainly is shinier, I'll give you that. Alright, so let's see where we are. Make sure I'm focus. You know, that's not too bad. That's not awful. Look at that. That isn't too bad. I hate to really take sandpaper to this thing because then there's a lot more polishing involved. So that, let's see how compared to the other side. I know with the flash on and whatnot, it's probably a little hard to see. Here's a comparison. You know, that's not bad. I'm going to do this other side. I'm probably still going to need to get something out. Get my my buffer out. But I don't know, that might not be too bad. I guess you'll have to depend, you know, you'll have to go and decide when you're polishing exactly how shiny you want your machine to be. Some people want a perfect mirror shine, and that's great. Some people, just get the big pieces off. I hear Kirby actually recommends this one product called Flitz. Last time I looked it up, it was a lot more expensive than Mother's. It might be a lot better than Mother's, but I think price per ounce, it was outrageous compared to the cost of Mother's. So I didn't really bother with it. Figured, you know what? I'll just use my my buffer attachment to my drill. Right, so you see how cloudy that gets. So let's see. Gee, I wonder if you can even do this back here. That'll shine that up. All right. See how we do. I'm sure this nozzle has not been shined in years, decades probably. See that start to shine? Isn't that something? It's an improvement. It's nowhere where I want it to be. I want it to be a lot better than this. But this is quite an improvement. This is not bad at all. Yeah, what do you think of that? So, like I said, it's nowhere near where I eventually want it. I want a lot better than that. I will probably end up sanding this or buffing the crap out of it. But this is an improvement, to be sure. Much, much better. All right, well, you can still see that there's plenty more to do on this, to be sure. Absolutely more to do. But what do you think about that? So we did some steel wool, and then, ugly, we did some Mother's Mag and aluminum, a little bit of sandpaper, and that's where we have. So at least, I guess, it's presentable. But there's still, like right there, I mean, you can still see that there's a lot more to work with here. Got to do a lot better job. That's definitely going to need some help. But it is shinier, that's for sure. Hope you can see that. And there's definitely a lot of scratches in there. All right, so probably do this other side here and then end up calling it quits just for now until I pull out one of the buffers. Look at all those scratches. I mean, that's just, yeah, that's just kind of what happens. All right, stay tuned. this little top rubber piece for the BPI. It's in pretty good shape. That's fine. This is okay until we get to there. Look at that. Rust. Hate rust. So let's get some sandpaper and sand that dude off. No need for rust. And, oh boy, that's a lot of rust. Don't believe me? Look at that. That's 220 grit. And that sucker is that dirty. Wow. We're going to have to go and lay into that dude, aren't we? It's still there. Wow. That is amazing. That's a lot of rust built up. All right. Time for the 100 grit, because 220 is not cutting it. Back with some 100 grit. So let's see what this can do. Hopefully the camera will stay in focus. Yeah. It's really in there. Geez, I might have to get my Dremel out. Wire brush or something like that. Well, okay, so it's coming off, but wow, that is really, let me get it really close. Come on, you can do it. Hey, look at that. I mean, that thing has some real growth on the side. Sheesh. One Dremel later. Let's take care of that rust. Oops. Nice if I didn't drop it. By Jove, I think we've got it. There we go. And I can smooth that out a little bit. That was kind of rough sandpaper right there. Now you can get that without a Dremel, but you just have to take a little more time with it. Hey, look at that. No more rust. Yeehaw. Right, I have got some staining on the bottom of this rubber trim piece. There's a bunch of little stains here, obviously there. So I'm going to try some isopropyl alcohol. See if that works. If not, I have a few other chemicals I can try. So I'll see what that does, if anything. If it's on there for a number of years, it might not come off. Now, I'm not seeing any transfer, because you would see that right there if there was anything happening. I don't think you'll see it too much on the vacuum where it's located, but still, that just kind of bugs me. Now try some other things.